95 million pieces of content are posted every single day. That's over 1,000 every single second. And the people watching them, they average around 6,500 thoughts every single day. Most of them automatic, most of them memories, most of them nothing to do with you or your service. And against that backdrop, coaches doing everything possible to be seen by as many people. They're trying to get mass exposure, get mass amounts of eyeballs, and hope once they grab their attention that people will naturally gravitate towards their service and sign up. But they won't. I've got a coach right now who's averaging $22,000 every single month, yet he has an audience size of under 4,000 followers. And that hasn't grown in the last 18 months. And another coach, Andy, he posts a reel, 300 views, terrible in terms of metrics, yet that reel earned him $9,000 worth of revenue into his business. What you're about to watch is a lesson from inside my coaching community, Scale with Service, and it's going to fundamentally change your perception of what you're doing with content. Not what to post and what to talk about, but why you're posting and the true reason behind doing it. Because growing an audience and getting leads from an audience are two very different things. So by the end of this video, you're actually going to learn what you need to focus on to get paying clients into your business, not just followers into your Instagram account. Intent versus exposure, what does that mean? Well, you have indecent exposure and then you have decent exposure. No, you have views. It's visibility. It's views and growing the social media account versus delivering intent within your content. And it's probably dawned on me that a lot of you have no clue of this concept even existing because, well, over the last 5 years myself, helping coaches grow their businesses, going through social media channels, when you're on social media, you're probably just bombarded with the torrent of information from Instagram growth coaches. And the default premise is you have to grow your following to grow your business. You have to grow your account. You have to get maximum views. You have to craft your content in such a way that you go viral. And that's the thing that's going to really help flood you with leads. And it's not necessarily true. Yeah, getting visibility helps you, but it's not the same mechanism. It's not a question of if only I get more views, people will come through. Statistically, I'm going to encounter more people who need my message or need my service. It's not true. It's really not. And you know, I've helped grow one specific client without a following. He got to 5K without having any followers. You know, it was all through Facebook outreach and like building an audience that way. Because his Instagram audience, 200 people, and they were all coaches. They weren't his clients. So it's not all about visibility. In fact, the content which is designed to get maximum views, it doesn't land and it doesn't deliver the intent needed to tip someone over the action threshold. You typically find the content which does the worst in terms of visibility, in terms of views, in terms of engagement. That's the stuff that is specific enough to put or read someone's specific reality back to them to the point where they want to sign up. There's a really good example I got of this. Andy used to average around 6,000 views per reel. One reel, 300 views, performed absolutely terribly. It was abysmal, atrocious. It was, yeah, when you look at it on like how well it performed, it was probably the worst bit of content he's produced. The only issue though was it led to $9,000 worth of business. And he got 3 clients from that with upfront payments for his program. It normally is the way that the content with the highest intent, which drives the most action, probably performs the worst. And without me telling you this, you'll be conditioned to produce content which maximizes engagement, maximizes visibility, but that doesn't help extract clients from the following. And they're two very different things. We've got to remember, you're not a content creator. Your job is not to get maximum visibility, to get followers, to get a brand deal. Would be nice, but your role in this is a service provider to convince people you can help them. And by that very nature, everything you've learned so far, you realize in order to do that, you have to be specific to their reality. When you're specific to their reality, you are excluding other people from that psychographic, that person who's going through that situation. This is what you want. So it's hard to get both where you're maximizing, you're getting thousands of views or you're getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views, and that same bit of content that's going to tip people over the edge. We're going to have a balance within the content strategy. When we move on to the conversion section of this module, you'll realize there'll be nuance on this. We can incorporate both, but I just want to make it absolutely clear that Your role as a coach is to extract leads, is to provide content with intent. It's not to grow your following. They are very different things, and you have to bear that in mind. And you have been conditioned up until this point by people who sell growth courses on Instagram, by people who've grown themselves on Instagram and say it's everything, buy my program. Yes, it can be helpful, it can be a strategy, but it's not the quickest way by any means. And you can definitely, I've got a coach right now, he's got under 4,000 followers and he's earning 22 grand a month. And realistically, his Instagram account hasn't grown in the last 18 months. We don't need it to grow. In fact, the algorithm's moving away from social media into interest media. Each individual bit of content stands on its own 2 feet now. There's less remarketing and less about people following, more about getting visibility from one specific post. So the whole algorithm is changing anyway. So the whole idea of growing a following now is starting to ebb and become less effective. But that being said, as I said, it is recognizing the difference here and aligning your purpose and your priority around delivering intent. And when I say intent, I mean specificity on the reality of the people, and intent having a key message, a core message that you need to say to one person. And if you turn up every day and you look at the camera and you speak it with passion, zest, intensity, conviction, earnest, and it's specific around the reality of the people you know struggle with X behavior, think this thought, and feel this way. If you do that well enough, and you do it and you hit one person between the eyes every single day, you've got 365 leads throughout the year. That's quadruple the average coaching capacity, more so. So that's how you look at it. It is about the intensity we bring. And by that very nature, it will perform terribly in terms of views, in terms of engagement, definitely in terms of likes, without a shadow of a doubt. And this video is to make you aware that do not pay attention to that feedback. Do not fall prey to misreading that as a bad signal, as a bad bit of content. Because up until now, you probably have been conditioned that way to admit that from the content strategy and post topics which are typically on trend, or try and seek maximum exposure, and they're not one and the same. Another client, one reel went viral. They went from an average of about 500,000, or I think it was just under sort of 500,000 average monthly views to 8 million monthly views. They didn't get any more inquiries that month. In fact, their inquiry volume went down because they got flooded with followers who weren't specifically related to the avatar, and that lowered the average view. Well, it lowered some of the views from the content going forwards, because the sample size where the content got put out to was diluted with people who weren't as interested in the topics or the interest in the coaching, on the service itself. So more views do not necessarily equal more growth. That's the key. So that's the key distinction. Views measure visibility and intent measures action. The two are very different things, and they're almost never the same piece of content. The two don't go hand in hand 9 times out of 10. And the coaches who are growing their business and getting consistent inquiries, they're not posting more content. They're not wasting hours trying to go viral. They're not focusing on maximum visibility. They're being precise in their messaging. They're delivering true intent and convictions to their content, and they're focusing in on the thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, and what that person that they help, that avatar, what they're going through. And that's grabbing the maximum level of attention they can from the people their service is designed to help. So this is just a small snippet. If you want the full content system, including frameworks, approach, psychology, and the same strategy that took my client where they had 0 leads for 9 months, and after applying this, they had leads coming through within 2 weeks. That's all inside the community. Free trial on the link below. There's a vast amount of content available from day one, so you can get amongst it and judge it for yourself. But in there, you're not just going to find what attracts clients into your business. You're going to learn how to stand out, how to position and package your service so people actually want it. Because believe it or not, selling something people want makes a difference. And it's better to sell something that people actively want to buy. And then you're also going to learn the psychology of influence so you can best help the people inside your service. That way you can attract more people with the better results they produce, but also you can foster and improve better relationships and drive more referrals, which help attract more people into your business through word of mouth as well.